Okay, looks like there might be some trouble with my stream. Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. I don't know if anyone can... I better write in the chat. So yeah, is the stream okay? I don't know how to fix it if it's not, because yeah, there's not a whole lot I can do. Yeah, let's see, settings. Nothing has changed, so I don't know what could be the problem, or if it's just like a glitch with my internet. Oh, now it's saying stream is healthy. Okay. It's good? Great. Thanks for letting me know that. Okay, so things to start with, trying to start with announcements or things, but I don't have many announcements. I guess the main thing is, for anyone who doesn't know, yeah, I have merch now, and the bot will eventually tell everyone I've got merch, but in the meantime, here it is. Whoops. In the chat. There you go. And yeah, until the end of November, everything's like $5 off. So yay! And thank you to everyone who's already bought one. It's kind of exciting. Because yeah, I've been wanting to do that for ages with that design. And so it's good to finally get it done. Other thing. So like, my YouTube has been getting a bit more attention and like, I don't know, from a particular sort of crowd, and I'm sort of getting to a point where I'm like, maybe I don't want to be answering every comment because sometimes I don't even know what people are talking about, and yeah, they just, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to upset people, really, but they're not comments I particularly want to engage in, so I'm considering changing that whole thing about answering every comment. I made a video on why I do that. Why I answer comments video. Here it is, if people want to check that out. And so I guess my main dilemma is then YouTube, when new comments come in, if I don't respond to them in some way, it sort of stays in my little queue and just stares at me every time I go onto my dashboard. So do I just not respond to people, or do I just respond with like an emoji like I do on Instagram for certain people who only talk to me in emojis? Yeah, I'm just sort of like thinking about that. Do I want to change the way that I handle comments, just for my own sanity and patience, which I am getting a bit thin on with certain people. Yeah, but, and I think that goes to, like, what my niche might be. Not that I've tried to follow any particular niche, but, yeah, it's just sort of accidentally because I am who I am and I talk about my life, and my life is a bit of a mess, and, you know, the whole mental health thing. You know, like, there's a lot of people who watch me who I'm fine with and get along with and can have chats with, but there's also a certain crowd who are a little bit more interesting, if I put it politely. So yeah, I don't know, and I talked to my psychologist a bit about my YouTubing because I think it's helping in some way, but I told her, like, I don't understand anyone, I think, who watches my channel, because I don't watch the kinds of videos that I make. And so if I don't watch the kinds of videos that I make, it's hard for me to know what the audience is getting out of it. And some people have told me things occasionally. Some people like the way that I speak as background noise. Some people actually like the content of what I'm saying. And, you know, there's every reason in between. I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, also the kinds of people I'm attracting. So I was talking to my psychologist, like, you know, in summary, I don't understand it. And, yeah, with some of it, she's pointed out, like, because I'm a bit odd, I'm probably attracting an odd audience, and so I'm not necessarily going to understand everyone who drops by, and that makes sense, and I guess that's just something I have to accept. But in that case, you know, if I don't want to chase people off and make them feel bad, so in that case, maybe I should stop answering every comment. That's just something I'm thinking about at the moment. And I'm sure, like, some people might be sitting there thinking, oh, I hope it's not me. But I'm just not going to say anything more on that. Like, it just reminds me of, I just think you're an interesting person. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so, like, I guess, you know, I mean, I don't really find myself that interesting, but then again, I live my own life, so I guess I already know all the things that are going on with me, and it's more just like, instead of being interesting, it's more like, why am I like this, and trying to figure myself out and try to improve my life somehow. So obviously my perspective being on the inside is going to be different there, but I guess I am unusual, and so, like, that is something that I've heard sometimes, like, even back in high school when I was really quiet, there used to be this thing, I don't know, it was some kind of program, and at the end you write like something nice about someone, and one of my friends wrote about like how unique I am or something as a good thing, and how I like, you know, don't really care about peer pressure and I just do whatever I want to do. And so yeah, that's something that like I was surprised to get the feedback, because I didn't really think about myself like that. I just did what I wanted to do. I didn't consider what people really thought, you know, like obviously I had to do the right thing, you know, so I wouldn't get in trouble, but apart from that, yeah. So I guess, yeah, my perspective, it's because I'm not trying to impress anyone in particular, so when people do like what I do, it often comes as a surprise. I don't know if the logic is right with that. Like, obviously, I'm getting myself confused, but yeah, it's just, you know, trying to get the inside perspective and the outside perspective. It just does my head in a little bit, trying to think about, you know, holding everything together. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, thanks for that comment. Yeah, I guess I'm reevaluating how I do my YouTube, and then, yeah, as more and more people come around, and, yeah, I guess I don't want to be upsetting people, and if I'm responding to all comments, sometimes the temptation is there, especially when someone writes something really frustrating, and I'm just like, but, yeah, no, so, and if I'm talking about mental health and all that, I probably shouldn't be mean to people, so... I've just got to accept that my audience has expanded a bit, and yeah. Was there something else related to that topic I was thinking about? I'm not really sure. I guess that's the main thing, like in terms of updates and things that possibly might change. That's the main thing that I was thinking about. What else? So I've already mentioned the merch thing. I've already mentioned that video. I can close that now. Okay. Oh, so shall I... well, no one had any questions on the form. Is anyone who's actually watching right now have any questions? Feel free to chuck them in the chat. Also, tomorrow I've got a reasonable chunk of time where I can film something, because I'll have the house to myself. So if there's a particular video topic that you want me to have a go at, I'll consider it, so chuck that in the chat too. Or if you're watching this on replay, in the comments, but if too much time has passed, it'll have to wait for another day. But yeah, so otherwise, I guess I'll just hop right into how my day has been, because it's been... Oh, this whole week is turning out to be so busy. So, oh, I better keep my drink bottle as well. Oops, sorry. Bumping everything. Alright. Yeah, so today, how much have I... So I didn't take my phone with me when I was walking my dog, because I don't like to be contacted when I'm doing that. Where's the thing that tells me... So, walking with my phone, I've done 7,843 steps, which is quite a bit more than usual. If I look through my history, the last time I got over 6,000 was almost a month ago. I can't even remember what I was doing that day. It was a Thursday, so maybe I was seeing the psychologist. Anyways, I've done a lot of walking today. I'm so tired. I didn't sleep well last night. I actually had a nap yesterday, so that probably screwed me up for sleep last night. And then Mikey woke up at 5:30, noisy, couldn't get back to sleep until maybe 8. And then I had a dream that, like, because it was noisy, I wanted to close my door, but my dog likes to come in and out, as you sometimes see in my streams. And, yeah, he came in, and anytime I tried to close the door, like, there's a way I can close the door so that he can still open it instead of fully closing it. And he kept opening it and coming in, and I just needed sleep. So I closed all the other doors in the house, and then I closed my door, and he stayed in the room. And then, yeah, around 8, Mum came home, he wanted to go out, so I let him out again. And then I finally got some sleep. And I had this dream that because I'd sort of trapped him in my room, he was kind of upset with me, and that he was like all my socks and things were disappearing, and then later I try to go to the bathroom and find that he's put all these socks and one of these little toys in my toilet. And then I woke up at 8:30 because my alarm went off because I had to see my doctor, because I had to talk to her about, I had to get a few repeats on medication, like the nasal spray and the pill, but also I had to talk to her about seeing this specialist on Wednesday, because, trying to work out how that works with my mental health plan with the government helping to fund my psychology sessions. And it turns out it doesn't matter who I see. Medicare doesn't mind. If I see a different psychologist for one session, that's fine, it'll still go through. But we're talking about that. And so she's printed off my mental health plans anyway, and also done a referral anyway, even though the psychologist said I didn't need a referral. So I have all that paperwork now, and then we're talking about a few other things, but she wasn't as helpful with that stuff. There's just things that I'm wondering, like, is Baraka giving me headaches? What about this twitch in my eyelid? Is there anything I can do about soy and lactose intolerance? I did the poo test a while back, and I thought I was going to get a bill for that, and they never gave me a bill. So I was just like, did I misunderstand? I thought that wasn't covered. And then also updating her on what happened with Centrelink and my plans to try and go along with their, their job service thing, just to see if they'll actually help me or if they're just going to screw me around. So I updated her on all the stuff. So that's the first thing I did. Went to the doctor's. Then I went next door to the pathology place, and, oh, hang on, dog wants to come in. Hobie, babe, I was just talking about you. You gonna come in? Or are you embarrassed now? Oh my goodness. So I've just closed it in that way that he can push open if he wants. And here he comes. Have you ever thought about going carnivore for a month? Does it really help me with anxiety? Yeah, no. I think once I had braces, that, I used to really love steaks, but once I had braces, I got tired of chewing. And I think since then, just meat, yeah, it's fine, but I can't eat a huge amount these days. And also, I've always been more into the rice. I'm half Japanese. I grew up on rice. And I don't like strong flavors. I like to have a decent amount of rice with a little bit of flavor. I hope you heard you talking about him. Oh, dear. Yeah, so I don't like strong flavors, basically. And if I'm just eating meat, then where's the rice? I'm too Asian not to have the rice. And now there's a lot of noise, so just give me a sec while I go and check all that. It's going to be more than a second. Don't get specific with me. Alright, I'm back. It's that chaotic time of day Mikey's going past right now. Yeah, okay. So, where was I? Yeah, I went over to pathology, and they said, actually, if you haven't heard anything by now, it might have gone to the lab, and then the lab's found that I do qualify for the Medicare. I'm a carnivore-ish, and, it helps a lot. Yeah, I don't think it would work for me. I'm all about carbs. I love my rice. Potato. I like potato, pasta. So, yeah. I like my meat, but noodles, sort of, not so much. Udon is a type of noodle, I guess. But, yeah, no, mainly rice. I for breakfast, I usually have toast. I'm not really keen on bread, but toast in the morning, it's just, I need to make sure I eat in the morning, otherwise I'm gonna feel crap. And yeah, just eating the same thing every morning, it takes the guesswork out of it, and my brain doesn't have to think about anything, and that is important, because I've had problems with eating. I used to be very low appetite, and I'm doing better now, so I'm not going to change my diet because you guys on the internet are telling me stuff, okay? Yes, I've thought about different things. Diets are not for me. I need to just eat anything that I feel like. That's the first step, making sure I eat. And then after that, trying to eat healthy, but I think I already eat reasonably healthy for what I can tolerate. So, yeah. Sorry, not going to take your dieting advice. Yeah, anyway, so I went to pathology and they're like, yeah, if you haven't heard, you know, it's been maybe 2 months or so. If I haven't heard back by now, and if all my details are correct, then it's quite possibly been covered by Medicare, so yeah, I don't need to pay for the poo test. You know, that one that made me feel a bit more about the biohazard sign. Yeah, then I walked to... This was one of the longer walks going to the pharmacy, because there is a pharmacy right near my doctor, but I don't like them. When I go in there, the atmosphere just isn't friendly, and they don't seem to care that I'm there. Like, I'm a customer, and hello, I'm here to give you my money. Yeah, whereas the people that I usually go to, I just like the setup better, and, you know, they're friendly, and it feels friendly, and I think they recognize me now, and it's close to my house, so... You know, when I get my repeats filled, I don't have to walk all the way to the other place, and it's often on the way to other things anyway, so yeah, I just have the loyalty to this particular one. Like, they've rebranded a few times, but it's still the same basic setup. So I went there, and one of the things I needed to get, they didn't have any of, but it was coming in at lunchtime, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, I'll come back, that's fine. You know, he's like, oh, you know, you can go and get it from somewhere else if you want to, but I'm like, that's fine, I'll come back, because I don't want to go anywhere else. I mean, I could probably get it cheaper if I went to, like, Chemist Warehouse or something, but I don't want to go there. I guess I have some weird ideas about things, it's just, yeah. Anyway, after that, came home, exhausted, had a nap, yeah. And then I had to go back out to the dentist. I think I mentioned in another video, maybe yesterday's video. Went to the dentist, got my retainer adjusted. It turns out, so, you know this little fluffy thing there? It turns out mine is a little bit bigger than, you know, is normal, I guess. And so, yeah, they had to scrape things back on the retainer so that it fits in nicely, and yeah, I mean, I might still need some more adjustments, and they said that's fine, just drop in whenever, and one of the girls can fix it up, but it feels a lot better now, and yeah, and I think it probably is a bit thicker than the old one and a bit sturdier, so hopefully this one lasts. Anyway, so dentist, and then, you know, not that you care, but after I went to the pharmacy, I actually went into the local supermarket, picked up some Yakult, and then I came home. Okay, then had the nap, went to the dentist. Then there's another supermarket right near the dentist, which is right near the doctor that I went to in the morning, so I did the same walk, but yeah, I went to that supermarket and got me processed food, which you meat eaters are probably not too impressed with. I just like the ones with the croutons, and I did have the creamy chicken one that I finished last night, but I think I want the mushroom ones, and my local has not had this, so I'm like, hey, I'm here again, I'm going to get it. Yeah, I do still have tomato soup in the cupboard, it's just I haven't been in that particular mood, so, yeah, mushroom soup and croutons, there you go. And then I walked back to the pharmacy. I did consider stopping at McDonald's because, like, I was sort of close-ish if I kept walking, but, you know, it's hot in Sydney today. That's why I'm wearing a white shirt, and I should probably, like, get some of my own white shirts printed up somehow. Hello! I'm just going through, like, what my day was, but if you don't know already, Nani, I made merch! And there's a discount to the end of the month, so if you're interested at all. Yeah, so went back to the pharmacy. The pharmacist recognized me because I had my cat mask. No, I haven't watched Game of Thrones. There's too much sex in it. Every time I've walked in on someone watching it, it just happens to be a sex scene, and I'm like, No, thank you. I know there's dragons. It sounds like the dragons are done in a way that I'm not going to really be into, though. And then the rest of it, yeah, no, thank you. So that's me anyway. Yeah, pharmacy. They had the thing. Got it. Okay, great. Then, like I had thought about. Yeah, no. So like my whole EP, I shared it before. My whole EP is like called Asexuality. Just not interested, and I don't really want to watch all that stuff going on. I gotta say, in Dexter, there's a lot of boobs, and I'm not sure if I noticed that before, but there's a lot of boobs. So I told my friend who hasn't watched Dexter, hey, you should watch Dexter. It's a great show. By the way, there's boobs. And she's like, boobs, now that you mention that. Anyway, how do you convince someone to watch a show you like? Boobs. I watched one episode and I loved it. What, Game of Thrones or Dexter? Oh, I haven't started the 5th season, but I'm finally past all the family nonsense, so... Season 5 from memory wasn't anything special, but at least we're past the season 4. I don't understand why people like it so much. There's too much normal people stuff going on in it. Maybe that's the problem. Game of Thrones, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it just never appealed to me. Also, because it was so popular, I think maybe that put me off a bit, because when things get really popular, I just sort of get a bit like, okay. And maybe that's justified, because when things are popular, it means that normal people like it, and if normal people like it, do the chances that I'm gonna like it go down? I don't know. I guess I'm suspicious of hype. So, yeah. What was I up to? So, yeah, one of the things I thought about going to McDonald's, it's warm in Sydney, gross. I didn't want to feel more gross going to McDonald's, but then I was like, oh, they have iced chocolate. But that's a long way to go for iced chocolate, and then to have to come back, I'd probably catch the bus back if I walked that far. So after I went to the pharmacy, I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to the expensive cafe on the way home, and it turns out they had lactose-free milk. It still had ice cream, but like I can handle a bit of lactose, so yeah, I came back by there. Got my iced chocolate with the cardboard straw, but I survived because now we don't have any plastic straws. So do I even go to Cha Time anymore? I had bubble tea at another place on... What's today? Is today Monday? Today's Monday, shit. So I had bubble tea yesterday. And they didn't even have the big straw at that place. And so trying to like scoop out the little pearl things with a spoon, but with the ice in the way, I had to take all the ice out, put it in a little thing, and then scoop out the little pearls to eat them. And I'm just like, now that there are no more plastic straws, am I done with bubble tea? I just, the whole anti-plastic movement. And especially having a disabled brother who needs the plastic straws because he chews them like crazy. It's just... Anyway, and cardboard straws are kind of gross, and... but I know Cha Time has bigger cardboard straws. I'm just not sure that I want to go there. Anyway, so I survived the iced chocolate cardboard straw. Got home, and then I don't know what I've been doing. I think I stuffed around for a bit, because Mum needed me to be home in case she wasn't back for Mikey, and then took Hope out for a walk right around school time, bumped into like this little pug type thing that was trying to get at him, and yeah, it like slipped out of its collar and I had to help catch it and talk to a lady, and I'm just like, wow, like I am good at doing the social thing these days, and it feels weird. Anyway, so that's basically my day, I think. Have you ever worked in retail? Yeah! That's like most of the work that I've ever done until, yeah, like I worked at McDonald's. I know that's not technically a retail, it's more like food services, but like I was on front counter. Also drive-through. I was really good at drive-through because usually they would have two people, so one person taking orders and one person taking money, but I was able to do both jobs at the same time. If you can, which, so I have to see this dissociation specialist on Wednesday, and so I've been doing some last minute research into like especially DID and related types of shit, and I'm just like, if you think about that, I have this sort of delusion of the Destroyer Mariko like imaginary split personality thing, and then here I am able to do two jobs at once as if I'm two people. Just like, there's so many jokes that I can think of now. But yeah, so used to do I used to do drive-through, two jobs at once. I think sometimes I also did the window, but yeah, usually I was either front counter or the back room for the drive-through. So I was good at that. The lady there, the like store manager, was insane though. You'd think once someone's been on a honeymoon, they might be a bit more relaxed, but no, she went straight back into this paranoid idea that we were all out to get them and, trying to... I don't even know. She didn't get to... I had to find a shoplifter. Oh, that's another funny thing that happened at McDonald's is, like, someone... I think I've told this story before, but, like, I think might have been later on a Saturday night. Saturday nights is when weird things happen. They had to get a parking spot for the cops because all the kids used to, gather. But, like, this guy comes up and puts his hand under his shirt like it's a gun or something. And I just started giggling because I'm just like... Hope you never have to fight a shoplifter, you're on the scrawny side. Well, I don't know what it's like where you are, but generally the training we get here is if someone's a shoplifter, you just report them to the police. You don't confront anyone because it's a safety issue. You report to the police, and then there's security cameras, what time was it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, so McDonald's, after McDonald's... actually, during McDonald's, I think I worked the election. That's not retail. Dealing with the public, though. Then I was at Kodak Express for a few years. So, like, retail, but also printing. And that's my retail experience has really been retail with printing. Because, I get to play with machines. And, so we had a chemical, process the film, and also the printing machine was a chemical printer back then. So to change the paper, I used to have to use a dark bag because the place wasn't big enough to have an actual dark room. So I had this little bag. I think it had a few holes in it though, so we'd trying not to ruin the paper, but also, you let like one round of paper just cut off and, because that's the part that's going to be exposed to light. So you have to like just, your hands in the bag and just sort of like try to feel what you're doing to change the paper. And I got really good at that. After Kodak, during Kodak, I think I also worked at the Santa photography place, which is kind of retail-ish. But again, like printing business and taking photos of kids who don't want to actually meet Santa. They love the idea of Santa, but actually meeting an old guy... an old guy with a beard who's like, kind of weird. They just sort of freak out. An assistant manager called me and I just ran over there and tackled the guy. No one's gonna call me to tackle anyone. I do have a black belt in Taekwondo, but that was a long time ago, and I was good at technique. I'm too small to win a fight. I mentioned in a comment in another video, I did win a tournament once, but, there's 4 people in I think you call it a bracket, and so, like, these 2 people fight, winner, then they fight, and so someone gets gold, the person who doesn't win gets silver, and then both of the people who didn't win that get bronze. And so one time I won because both the opponents that I've had to fight, so here's me, this person hits me in the head, illegal headshot for our level. Next person, also illegal headshot for our level. So I just won because they got disqualified for illegal headshots. Because we were, too low a level for that to be a thing. Word got back to my school, and this was, I think, the same year that I got my black belt. I don't know who told the school because I didn't tell them, and it was run by like an outside group who came to the school to run Taekwondo classes. But somehow the school found out. And they made me, I got most improved that year at the sports assembly and also outstanding sportswoman of the year, which is like their top sporting prize at the school. And here's me, the computer nerd. I was running the PowerPoint up in the sound and lighting box all the way at the back of the hall, thinking there's no way I'm ever going to get anything in a sports assembly. My name got called out twice. Both times I had to run all the way down the stairs, all the way to the front, up onto the stage, and by the time I got there, someone must have noticed that I was desperately out of breath and not fit at all, and yet here I am getting these sports prizes. And then I go all the way back, go all the way up, think I'm relaxed, and then have to go down again. And then, like, my principal, when I got one, like, you know, she did this whole, like, you know, lifted her guard up, and I'm just like, I have not got enough oxygen in my brain to know what I'm supposed to do with that. I just sort of stood there awkwardly, like, just give me my award already. Because, like, what am I supposed to do? Challenge my school principal? And this is, like, back when I was really withdrawn and super shy as well. So I'm like, am I supposed to... maybe if it was me now, just to screw with people, I would be like, yeah, totally gonna take on the principal. But... I was like, aren't we supposed to let them go? So thankfully I wasn't. Hey, if you can do it safely, but yeah, generally the training is like, don't confront these people. And like even in martial arts, you sort of learn about restraint and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that was just the funniest incident of my life, because I was the maths nerd, you know, I was top marks in maths and science for a number of years, and very quiet. People thought I was religious, because I just, like, did the work, didn't really do much, you know, that they knew of. I would go home and get on the internet and write in my little violent RPGs, but, yeah, as far as anyone knew. And then there I am getting sports awards? What? That was really weird. Yeah, so, what, Santa photography, sort of retail. Then I worked at Officeworks. But again, I was in the print and copy department, so yeah, a lot of my retail... Is that the last retail I did? Yeah, because after Officeworks, then I became a sample coordinator for a fabric place. Boring office work, just like in a mailroom. Sample coordinator is such a fancy title, but it's like really basic, mindless stuff, and so once I got depressed, it was really hard to keep going, and then once I had the medication, I couldn't concentrate, and I'm just like, I can't keep doing this job. Yeah, and so since then, I haven't had a retail job. Bonsai, I do, like, help sell stuff, but my title has nothing to, and my job description isn't really retail. I'm a nursery hand. I mainly work with the trees, and so, if I'm on my own, I now know enough to, like, sell the trees, and so I guess that's sort of retail, but if my boss is there, he'll handle all the sales. I'm just, like, backup. Because there are things that I don't necessarily know about certain species I'm not up to speed with, and they're kind of, you know, my boss is a really honest guy, and so, like, he won't sell something to someone if he thinks it's not right. And he'll give them all the information, like why one tree species might not suit you and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah. He actually cares about the art form, I guess. So it's a bit different to regular retail. We just sell stuff. And then, yeah, all the retail that I've ever worked, instead of just selling stuff, I was always making something. I don't know if McDonald's counts. I mean, I guess someone in the kitchen is making the food and I'm just selling that. Or when I was in the drive-thru, sometimes the drive-thru would get really backed up because I could take the orders and the money efficiently, but at the other end, especially during busy times, the kitchen's struggling to keep up with how fast the orders are coming through. So then all the cars would get backed up past my window, and you know, I just had nothing to do until the next car moved up. And so I would just, or if it was really quiet as well, I'd just make lots of those cup holder things, you know, they all come flat. And so I'd like pop them open and just spend ages popping all these things open. And then there's a huge stack of them ready to go. Yeah, I guess I'm efficient in a lot of the stuff that I do. And I know, like, a lot of people seem to just, if they can get away with being lazy and not doing anything, they will, but I just can't do that. You know, I have a habit of just doing things the best I can, and if there's something that needs to be done at work, I'll do it. Which is weird, because when I'm at home, I will procrastinate and not do stuff. Like, I had to come up with a whole habit to be able to clean my room every week. It's weird, the way that my brain works in different situations. And, you know, my life at home would be better if I could get into more of that state of mind that I'm in at work. Then again, work is so stressful that I can only do it one day a week at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh dear. Yeah, so the last real retail job. Okay, so the stream, I'm just checking the stream health and it keeps popping in and out. Yeah, the last, like, I guess proper retail job I did was Officeworks, but even then, print and copy department. And yeah, I got to play with the big machines, you know, like even the full-on document printer. You know, there's some fun stuff you can do with that, like making booklets and so on, and solving problems with that, and solving jams and issues and things. I used to talk to the tech guy a lot when he came in to fix stuff, so that I'd know how to fix stuff. Like the big laminator roll, they constantly had on the wrong setting, so I had to like ask him what setting should we be doing these things, and he showed me that. The big canvas printer or poster printer and all the different things you can do with that. I went to some training day. I don't know if I ever got paid for the training day because I wasn't as on top of my rights at the time. And like even with the hours I got paid, I wasn't always on top of that either. But yeah, so I worked retail, and I hope I never work it again because customers are shit. We've had some like regulars. There was one regular who followed me from Kodak to Officeworks, and if I was there, she always asked for me to take the chip out of her camera and help her out with stuff. Yeah, sometimes I still bump into her on the street, although I haven't seen her for a while, so, you know, she's a bit older. Yeah, and then that was back when I had coloured hair, and so, you know, at Officeworks, they hired me when I had coloured hair, so I just kept doing it, and quite often customers would specifically ask for me by saying, I want the girl with the coloured hair to do it, because they knew I knew what I was doing, and I actually gave a shit about the result, instead of, you know, the others who just struggled with it. I was the problem solver. I probably should have got paid more for doing so much stuff, but hey, if I went back, I'd fight for my rights now, but I was a different person then, which is one of my problems. Why do I cut my hair? Well, when I got my schizoid diagnosis, that was kind of like it just was like a sort of big event, and I'm like, well, that explains a lot. And at the same time, we've had La Nina. This is the third La Nina year we're going through now. And it's just super humid. Like, the temperatures aren't as bad in Sydney at the moment, but the humidity is worse. And I just got tired of long hair and all the sweat and stuff. And I was just like, screw it. Shaved it off. Yeah, and I mean, that last set of coloured hair that I did, when I first got it done, I thought I'd keep it for a while. You know, it had some symbolic stuff that some of my previous hairstyles didn't have. But it did start to feel a bit tired after a while. Like, I've never been able to stick to one hairstyle for very long. Like, that, keeping it for more than a year, that was long for me. Usually I would change every time I went back to the hairdresser, so every 3 months or so. But also, the guy that I was seeing, because like the previous place I went to closed down, the guy that I was seeing, he wasn't as expensive, but with that very last one I did, I asked for something specific, and he decided to experiment, and it didn't come out that way, and yeah, so I was just a little bit frustrated, you know, like, I asked for this, I didn't want it to be like that, and yeah, and there's not really a lot of alternatives in Sydney to get the kinds of things that I'm into, so I'm just like, and I thought, you know, I've got all my wigs now. I was going to wear a wig for this, but I've just had such a long day. I don't want to put anything on my head, so, but yeah, no, I have wigs, so if I want to change things, I could just pop them on, cyber wigs, and then also, like, with hats and hoods, having long hair under a hood, and then it moves around, and then it keeps getting tangled, whereas with short hair, that's not a problem. So it's just easier. I wanted to shave my hair for ages, but way back, Mum's like, you cannot shave your hair. So that's when I first went out and was like, well, I'll get it colored instead, because she didn't say I couldn't color it. How did you beat your depression? I'm not sure that I did beat it. Like, I still keep getting depressed. I've actually had a few bad days lately. But, like, I got through that really big depression, I think just by, like, I quit Centrelink at the time, and then I fucked off to Japan for a month in a different situation. I thought I was going to come home to a music project, so I was out. This is before I started doing the punk rave collab. So I was in Japan, went to Harajuku. I was trying to find stage clothes. I had like something to hunt for, and so like a combination of things, getting away from Centrelink, who were just making me worse at the time, changing my situation for a month, like just getting away from my life, thinking I had something to come back to look forward to, and having a purpose because of it to buy the clothes. Like, it's all those kinds of things as a combination. I think that helped me snap out of that really bad, long depression. Since then, though, I've still had issues. And then this year, I'm doing better than I was earlier in the year. I think I've gotten through a lot of the, I guess, trauma processing, maybe, realizing the impact of a disabled sibling on me, my life, and recognizing that it was actually hard instead of just being in denial all the time. But yeah, earlier in the year, that was really hard, and especially not knowing what was wrong with me, thinking, do I have autism or whatever? So getting the schizoid diagnosis, like, it helped at first, and then I had the crash because thinking about trauma and also not sleeping well, and then have sort of got through that and have slept a little bit better because, my parents are finally taking seriously my sleeping problems, and so trying to keep Mikey quieter in the morning to not wake me so much. That's helped, but I'm not really sure why I'm doing better at the moment. Maybe, I think the turning point was deciding to do YouTube every day. So now I have something to do every day, if that makes sense. Also, like, getting past Marley, because that was really stressful, and so it was just constant stress worrying about him until we finally put him down, and now he's not suffering, so I don't have to worry about that. So I think this year that's helped. And so, am I depressed now? Probably not. But I am, like, depression prone, so I fully expect that I will have another dip in the future. So I haven't really beat depression, but right now I'm doing okay. I'm not particularly happy about anything, I'm just, like, neutral, and neutral is pretty good for me. So I hope that kind of answers that question. But yeah, no, I've been having a couple of tough days. I think partly because I've been staying up late, been a bit busy with stuff. I don't even remember what I've been busy with, though. And I think getting the merch sorted, so I'll put that up again, because I made the graphic, so have the graphic again. And the bot hasn't been doing his part, has he? Bot, are you still there, bot? If I say merch? Will he tell us where that the merch is here, or has the bot just tuned out? I think maybe the bot's tuned out, so I'll just give the link manually then. I didn't turn it. Oh, did he? Oh no, here he goes. Hey! I think that's a slightly different link to the one I've got. Yeah, the merch one, the one that starts merch.streamelements, takes a little bit longer to load. store.streamelements.com/destroyamerica, that's the one. So I might actually go in and change the bot a bit later so that it goes to the good link instead. But yeah, working on this stuff, I did stay up late a few days, and then after that, trying to catch up on things. Trying to catch up on things, I think I stayed up late. And then, what else have I been doing? Probably just getting carried away. I don't even remember. So, yeah. But also, I think this morning, I really struggled to sleep. And one of the things I was thinking about is, so on Wednesday, seeing this dissociation specialist and just, you know, she's probably going to ask me about trauma because dissociation is thought to be mainly caused by trauma. And so I was thinking about the whole situation again. And then I guess because Mikey woke me up and he was noisy, like, he's a big part of, like, he is the glass child trauma thing for me. So, you know, I guess that dug up some of those issues again. And so I had a bit of a rough morning. But once I got up and got moving, I've been okay, I guess. Just tired, and so I really needed that nap earlier. Hopefully I haven't ruined tonight's, because I needed a nap yesterday as well. You know, like once I sort of get into that pattern of having late nights, then I feel like I need a nap. But then if I nap, I tend to ruin my night's sleep again. So it can get into a bit of a shit pattern. So that doesn't help. And then when I'm tired, I'm more inclined to think negatively because I'm just too tired to get past it, however I get past it. So yeah, I had a bit of a rough morning, but also trying to think of, like, what do I say to this specialist? And then the thing I'm really nervous about is having to open up, and, like, I only have one appointment with this chick for her to assess me and work out, like, what's my issue. And so I need to make sure that I say all the things and don't dodge the issue like I am usually inclined to do in therapy. And that makes me a bit nervous. And I've had a couple of friends point out to me that I probably do have a tendency to downplay the things that I experience, and that's probably part of the defense mechanism. But yeah, they're like, you know, because I've had a lot of doubts, and so they're saying, you realize you're probably downplaying this because of that stuff, and I'm just like, shit, I think I am. And so I've got to find a way to get past that and just tell this lady what actually goes on in my head and the things I actually experience. But I think I'm also anxious about, like, what's the outcome, because there's different ways it could go. But I think I also need to have a better idea of what's going on with me, because particularly with the identity confusion, the sense of self issues that I've got, and I don't know, I haven't seen your name pop up in a while, so I'm not sure if maybe you haven't seen some of that stuff. Let me find some of the videos recently that might be relevant. So 3 ways my sense of self is confused and disjointed. Sense of self video. I'll pop that in the chat if you want to watch that later. I think that's probably the main one. I don't know. Anyway, so that stuff with the sense of self, and particularly the third one, which is the one that's like the imaginary split personality thing, because I'm not comfortable calling it anything else at the moment. With that one, it's important for me to know what's actually going on in my head. I've been treating it like I have some kind of delusion, which I think is fair enough. I've got schizoid personality disorder, mild end of the schizophrenia spectrum, and when I look at what people describe with dissociation, I drank so much water I feel sick. Look, too much of anything is bad for you. The whole dihydrogen monoxide joke. But yeah, so, when I look at, like, people's experience of dissociation and some of the ways it's described, there's just things about my experience that still feel different. And so, with the whole schizoid and schizophrenia spectrum thing in mind, I'm like, what if this is just some kind of delusion or something on that, like maybe a positive schizophrenia symptom, as opposed to the negative ones that are just the schizoid stuff. Maybe I do have something going on there. And if it's a delusion, you're not supposed to humor delusions because they're delusions. So what I'm doing, or what I have been doing mostly since those experiences came back, is the correct way. Like, to just try not to humor it and just recognize that it's just some glitch in my brain, not something to be taken seriously. Just try to ignore it as best I can, or, like, you know, okay, use it for art, but otherwise don't humor it because that's just going to make it worse. So yeah, if it's on that delusional side of things, and I was thinking about making a separate video about this, because I know not everyone watches the whole live stream. Yeah, so, but on the other hand, if it actually is a dissociation thing, from what I understand, the way that you deal with it is the exact opposite. You need to like understand, okay, what is that part of you? What's its purpose? And try and like make friends with it or whatever, which I feel a bit uncomfortable about. Society's gonna fail so bad. Yeah, I do get that sentiment that society's going to fail, but on the other hand, like every generation sort of looks at what's going on at the time and thinks, wow, this is terrible and everything's going to collapse. And, you know, like the whole thing about people sitting on their phones on the bus, and some older people will be like, oh, look at all these people stuck in their phones. Not realizing that back in their day, people were all reading newspapers on the bus and everyone's stuck into their newspapers, and it's just a different way of doing the same thing. Like there are plenty of ways that we can screw ourselves over as a species, but on the other hand, I think we do have a bit of a bias towards what we find familiar or how we think the world should be, and you know, either way doesn't really make much difference to me because I've already screwed up my life in terms of what society is. Oh my god, I didn't have lunch today. I'm feeling a bit hungry. That's distracting. Yeah. And then, you know, like, I'm not really sure what specifically you're referring to with society, but I know there's a lot of stuff about culture wars and so on. And you know, like, I'm not hugely on board with the whole gender thing. I don't understand why gender is such a big deal. Although I do recognize that because of the way that I think and the lack of emotion I have, I guess it's not possible for me to understand people's emotional connection to that stuff. But yeah, I don't understand it. But on the other hand, if the new idea of gender does become a thing that we all have to go along with instead of just, you know, male, female, and then I don't really follow feminine stereotypes, you know, like, why can't that just be what gender non-conforming is? You know, I'm a chick who just doesn't act like a chick. Can we just leave it there? But if we move on to the whole, like, no, that means you're something else, I'm like, okay, fine. By that system, if I have to participate, I'll just go ahead and call myself agender because, you know, agender, you know, I've already got the asexuality thing, not interested in all that. I'm not interested in all the gender stuff, so I just won't have one. Thank you very much. Ultimately, it doesn't really affect me that much as long as people don't get, you know, overly upset if I refer to them the wrong way. But then again, I don't have a whole lot of social interaction and I don't talk about a lot of people, so it probably doesn't matter. I tend to default to just calling people they if I don't know, because I think we already use that as a general term, so I don't have a problem with, you know, people saying, oh, it's plural. I don't care. It is used as a singular thing sometimes. But I think if I grew up 10 years later than I did, I definitely would have gone into that whole non-binary stuff. And I think I definitely would have picked up the whole they-them thing. Not necessarily because of gender, but because of this delusion or obsession or whatever. Aromantic? Yeah, that too. Oh, aromatic? Do you mean aromatic as in like the smell, or aromantic as in not interested in romantic shit? I guess I could be both if I wanted to. I'm not really into the perfume stuff, but every now and then someone gives me perfume. Maybe they're trying to give me a hint. There's like a empty bottle there, or it's almost empty. Because like sometimes things get a bit smelly around here. You know, Mikey still uses nappies. And yeah, we can Glen 20 things in the hallway, but sometimes I just spray some perfume on him as well, or in the hallway, just so I don't have to smell so much. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, no, I think one of the reasons a younger me might have gone for some of the non-binary stuff, apart from the fact that I just don't give a shit about feminine things, yeah, would have just been so that I could be referred to as plural. Like, I would have exploited the fact that it's plural. And I know that with some of the DID channels, that's already how they're referred to. So, aromantic, okay. Yeah, I can totally see my younger self getting carried away with that. Whereas now I'm a bit more suspicious of my experiences, and I definitely have some odd experiences, but I'm just not sure how to interpret them. And so this time around, I'm trying not to humor it because it could just be some kind of delusional thing. But if it's dissociation, then yeah, I'd have to think about it differently, and probably I would need therapy to get through that because I don't really know how to approach it myself anymore. Whereas if it's a delusion, then I can just keep going about my life as is and dealing with it as best I can. I wouldn't need medication because I'm able to get through life okay. You know, it's distracting and stressful sometimes, but yeah, like, I'm not getting into trouble because I have a delusion of a split personality thing. Thoughts on Ezra Miller? I don't know who that is. That sounds like a celebrity, and I'm just not hip with what's going on with celebrities, so yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. If it was like Jackie Chan or Tom Cruise, maybe I'd have an opinion. I don't know who Ezra Miller is. Is that an actor, or I don't even know. A singer? So a YouTuber? Because there are YouTubers who are famous. I've been watching some videos on like YouTubers who got famous and then got into controversy, and I just didn't realize that there was so much of that stuff going on and that people give so much of a shit about people online. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. It's like a while back I found that Internet Historian channel, and there's so much stuff that happens online that I'm just not aware of. And so like even online I feel like an outsider. You know, like all these people getting into this stuff that are just the Flash actor. The Flash. Is that like the superhero Flash? For some reason, like, you know, music theatre popped into my head first, but I realised that I don't know music theatre either. So it must be the Flash, as in like that superhero that is on the Big Bang Theory and they all want to dress up as the Flash. That's where I know that shit from, not because I know anything about Flash. There was that Queen sings a song where they talk about Flash Gordon as well. Those are the only things I know. I'm a bit culturally retarded, so, and I realize that the R word is something that people aren't keen on, but my brother is genuinely that, so I don't know. It's funny how people get offended by words, but I guess because I don't understand feelings that well, that must be why I can't understand why people are so upset about words. Also, being an Aussie, and we swear a lot, and we swear to our friends, so I think we have a different idea of how words operate. You know, I think we're more about context. Like, you know, when you say mate, mate could be one of your mates, but I think we tend to use the word mate more often when we're talking to someone that we don't like. Just to confuse people even more. Oh dear. Yeah. It's Australia, right? It's upside down land, so of course our language is upside down as well. Ugh. Wonder if there's a way I can turn my video upside down just so you guys can get the authentic experience. Properties. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, no, that looks like the wrong thing. Are you antisocial? I would say asocial. I think antisocial is when you engage in behaviors that are like, you know, like for example, violent or aggressive or in some way disruptive. I think that's what antisocial tends to refer to, whereas asocial is just, I'm not that social. And so maybe I should give you the schizoid personality disorder link, because that sort of schizoid, where's my video? Oh, it's, I've made a few videos that have a word in it. Get shareable link. So, Schizoid personality disorder is the video I made about that. So I just have like really low social needs. But I am seeing that like one friend that I can hang out with more often. I'm seeing her on Thursday because we've still got a lot of Marley's old dog food and it's not all good for Hope. And so she's got a dog and she'll take some of that food away and stop Mum from feeding my dog food that he's not supposed to have. So yeah, we're going to go to lunch, go to the shops, and then I guess just hang out at home. And she's also studying a psychology degree, so that's happening the day after I see the dissociation specialist. So I guess, depending on how that goes, I can talk to her about here's what she said and what do I do with my life. I once read an article about how people can have a wider variety of behavior among het-cis males and het-cis females. I don't like the word cis, but anyway, you can still be male or female and not fit old gender stereotypes. And also het. Do I count as het? I guess I did date guys when I tried dating, but I'm not interested in dating, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's the last part of what you've written there. You can still be male or female and not fit old gender stereotypes. Yeah, and like also you can still not be feminine and still be a woman. I guess like one of the things that bothers me about the new way of thinking about gender is they tell us that gender and sex are different, but anytime there's a form to fill out, they only ask for one. And I'm like, if they're different, shouldn't there be two different questions? So in one, you state your biological sex, and then in the other, you state your fluffy gender, whatever it is. I think they need a bit more consistency before wider society can take up that sort of idea. Until then, it just, especially for those of us who are really old and grew up in a different time, it just feels like one of these things that the kids do. Yeah, like I'm older than I look. And I very much grew up in that time, or my perception of what was going on in society might be a little bit off, but what I understood was, like, it's not cool to label yourself. Like, the whole thing was, you can't label me! But then again, that could be also me being schizoid. I don't want to be lumped into some group, because I don't want to be in groups. I'm not even a huge fan of being in the schizoid group, so that might just be me. But definitely in, like, I think the 70s and 80s, I think that was a thing. Like, don't label me, I'm my own person. Whereas now, it's back to, here's all my labels, this is my identity, all these labels. And so for me, coming from a different perspective and a different time and cultural attitude, it's just strange. And, you know, people putting all their disorders in their bios. If your whole thing is like being educational, like, you know, there are channels that are dedicated to exploring a particular psychological issue, that makes sense. But if you're just some average Joe, you know, just putting all your disorders into your bio, it just seems odd to me. Like, here's a thing that defines me. And like with me, yes, I have schizoid personality disorder, I have depression, but I'm also a musician, an artist. Those are the things I actually do, rather than the things I have. Look, I happen to be female, but I'm not letting that stop me do things like learning to growl, being a metal singer, doing things that I want to do. I tried engineering. I did, like, audio engineering as well is very male dominated, and then I actually I started doing a mechatronic engineering degree, and had to go, and they were going to teach us to do welding and stuff, and I was almost doing that, but then I was like, I'm too small for this, and yeah, the classes were boring. I don't know, I have a lot of more male interests, I guess. Yeah, what was I ranting about? Gender. How did I get onto uni, though? I don't know. It just feels weird that people want to label themselves and box themselves into something like that. And I notice also with the people who were not happy with me being covert schizoid, so and the relevant video for that was schizoid gatekeeping. These people trying to box me into a very narrow definition when humanity, schizoid gatekeeping, here's the video. It was a sort of a lazy video, but it's there. You know, the idea that I have to exactly fit someone's perception of what a disorder is, or, you know, exactly fit a stereotype. I just find that so weird. Like, why are we trying to box people into all these little categories? And then the other thing that's weird about the gender thing is, like I was saying, I can be female and have non-feminine interests and presentation, and I guess my hair's short now, so people have been thinking I'm a dude again. It's not the first time in my life that people have thought I was a dude, and I don't care. You know, gender's not that important to me. It's more of a communication thing. It's easier to communicate if we all just agree on, you know, terminology. But yeah, what I find interesting is that if I was younger, having more boyish interests, some people might have tried to push me into thinking I was a boy, or at least non-binary, and that's kind of reinforcing gender stereotypes. Like, if I don't act feminine, suddenly I'm not female. Isn't that reinforcing gender stereotypes? Like, what happened to the old idea of, like, yes, you're a girl, but you don't have to act girly? It feels like it's gone backwards in a way. That's something I find really strange. Like saying that you can only really call yourself a woman or whatever if you conform to gender stereotypes about what women should be. I just find that so strange. It's so backwards. Like, I was always being told to be ladylike when I was younger. And, you know, I'm like, no, I don't have to be ladylike. I can be however I want to be. Yeah, I'm female, fine. That's, you know, I can't change that. But I can do whatever I want. I can go into more male fields. But then with the new gender movement, they're actually making gender stereotypes stronger in a way, and I just find that very odd and backwards, and yeah, it's confusing. I hope I've articulated that well and not in a way that's going to upset anyone, but it's just like, because I know that crowd does get upset about a lot of stuff, but like, I'm not trying to be nasty or anything. It's just this sort of inconsistency that's saying, like, you know, break free from gender stereotypes, but also if you're not this, then you must be some other gender. I find that a weird contradiction, and yeah, if there's something more to it, then I don't understand that. But yeah, so, you know, you can be male or female and still do whatever you want, and you don't have to present a particular way, and you can wear what you want, and you don't have to change your gender. And like, gender used to just be a word. Like, when I was growing up anyway, gender didn't mean how you feel in your body or anything. Gender just meant, it was like a way of saying male or female, without saying the word sex, because when you're at least in the playground, you know, if anyone said that, you'd have a giggle. So gender was like the way to say that without saying the word that would be kind of naughty and like cheeky to say. That's what gender used to be, at least for the world that I grew up in. Keeping in mind, I did grow up in a conservative Catholic world, so there's that. But I feel like that's what used to be understood, whereas now we're trying to say that sex and gender are different. And I don't know that it is. I think it's gender roles. Gender roles have changed, sure. Gender stereotypes, sure. What is gender, though, if it's not related to that? It's very confusing, and I got tired of watching debates about that, because I'm just like, this is really dumb. What does it even matter? Why are we so obsessed with this stuff? And maybe it's because I'm like that sort of asexual, aromantic, asocial, uninterested, don't give a shit kind of person. Maybe that's why I don't understand it, because particularly like if sexuality and all that, if that's not interesting to me, then what's the point of gender anyway? There's not a whole lot. It's more just like, you know, men tend to be big and muscly. I'm a small female, so I'm not physically impressive. I'm just, you know, so I have limits, like there's only a certain amount I can lift. Practically, that comes into play at work. So these days, now that my skill level has improved, I tend to do more of the pruning work on the bonsai, whereas my boss, who is a bigger dude, he does the heavier repotting stuff, and that means my back doesn't get injured, and you know, I'm working within my physical limits, and it's okay to have physical limits. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a schizoid thing where I can't understand why people are upset. And I hope that if I have upset anyone, that people understand that I do have a condition that perhaps makes it harder for me to understand, and I'm trying to, but I just don't. Yeah. So that's my rant on gender, which I wasn't intending to go on today. No, really, the more pressing concern for me is what do I think about dissociation. I have stumbled on a couple of videos lately that made me a bit more open to it, because, you know, some of the more sensational DID YouTubers, to me, just make me think it's all bullshit. But, yeah, I've come across some that were more believable, and I'm just like, shit, maybe I've been a bit too cynical and judgmental about that. And then I also came across, there's Dr. Grand channel or something, and he had a video talking about the difference between someone who actually has DID and someone who's faking it. So not even the therapist caused theory, like the iatrogenic theory. Not even that, like someone who is actually trying to fake DID. He had a video talking about that, and a case study, and showing the examples and showing what therapy bias looks like, and also how someone who's faking would present something. And that was really interesting and made me feel a bit better about what I'm experiencing and my nervousness about talking about it. But yeah, that sort of made me accept more, okay, I'm definitely experiencing something. And, you know, I've had friends tell me this. Yes, I am experiencing something. I guess I'm just still not sure about, like as I said earlier in the live stream, I'm not sure about whether I should see it as a delusion or as dissociation. And it is important that I figure out which, because the way that I go about treating things then could be completely opposite. I think personally, without knowing what's wrong with me or what's weird or different about me, I think the way that I'm doing things, treating it more like a delusion, is the safest, because if I assumed it was dissociation, then I could potentially be encouraging a delusion, which would be the opposite of what I should do there. If this specialist, though, thinks that I do have dissociation, I think that's going to have a big impact on how I see myself and how I deal with myself, and I'm going to go through a lot and get very anxious. And so I'm a little bit, I think I'm a bit nervous about what the outcome could be. If she says it's a delusion, though, I think that would be easier to deal with in some ways, but in other ways, the trouble then is, like, I've been doing what I think I should be doing if it's a delusion. I've already been doing all that and it's not going away, so then what do I do? Am I just stuck having to deal with this thing that flares up every now and then? So yeah, on that side of things, it's going to be shit because I won't really know how to treat it. I don't think medication's appropriate, especially given my history with not tolerating medications. But on the other hand, if she says it's dissociation, that's my whole worldview has one more crack in it, and there's a whole lot of other stuff I have to deal with then and figure out about myself and perhaps accept about myself as well. So I guess in a way I think, like, regardless of what happens, I think Wednesday's going to be a very difficult day for me. And it could be bad enough that maybe I take a few days off YouTube. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens, because I'm going to try and film some stuff tomorrow. And depending on how much I do film, I guess, you know, like, I'm posting one thing a day. So if I get a few things done, then maybe that'll fill the gap between now and between seeing the specialist and then getting over however I react to that. Maybe that's enough. Maybe I'll film enough to fill that gap. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm just kind of anxious and I'm not sure what to think. And then, yeah, I think that's going to be difficult. But I will have my friend to talk to on Thursday, and she knows the stuff that I've like I've talked to her about some of the stuff, and she's studying psychology, so, you know. But yeah, no. So the other thing I need to do tomorrow, though, is actually figure out what do I tell the specialist, and should I print out some of my notes or should I summarize? I don't really know, because I've only got a 50-minute session, 50-minute session to try and figure out what's going on in my head, and I'm not really sure. I have to say, though, in terms of other dissociation things, like the derealization and depersonalization, I haven't had too much of that since Marley passed away. That day was really stressful, and I think I was having a lot of derealization. You know, especially in terms of, like, struggling to see, you know, hope as still being alive and real and all that, and then, you know, having strange thoughts about death and all that, and just feeling disconnected and detached. But otherwise, I think I've been doing a lot better on that. Like, earlier in the year, I was definitely having a lot of derealization and depersonalization, and I think I guess it is stress-related, because I was more depressed and thinking about, like, how I've screwed up my life, and how I expected my life to be, like, how I was told to think life would go, and then it not going that way, and then thinking, well, if life isn't that, then I don't have to follow all these rules that I've set myself. But if I don't have to follow those rules, how do I operate in my life? It's confusing, and so I was going through a lot of that stuff, whereas at the moment, I guess I haven't given myself too much time to think about those things. And then, yeah, not having to worry about Marley anymore. And then with the derealization, though, I think that's sometimes a bit more random. So I'm not really sure why that's been less. But, yeah, I think also distracting myself with doing things like YouTube or writing notes for my psychologist, that brings me a bit more to reality as well. So that's the thing. What time is it? I've got like 10 more minutes. So if anyone wants to jump in with something, hop in the chat. And also, like, if there's any particular video that I should prioritize, I need to rewrite my to-do lists, because I've crossed off a lot of stuff, and it's chaos now. And some of these things I don't know are even relevant, but, yeah. Hello, drunk puppy! I like drunk puppy. I was saying earlier, like at the start of the video, that I might stop replying to comments, but I like drunk puppy. No, fortunately, I think, I don't know, there's some people who have been testing my patience lately, and so yeah, I'm thinking of maybe ending my habit of responding to all comments. But anyway, so how do I summarize the live stream for Drunk Puppy? So yeah, maybe not going to respond to comments. I had a really long day. I did a lot of walking today. And then now I've just been having a little bit of a mild panic about seeing a dissociation specialist on Wednesday. And, like, what do I tell her? And I have to really open up, because I only have this one chance to get assessed. And that's going to be hard, because I go into a sort of defensive mode in therapy, and it's hard to open up, but I need to do it. So maybe I really do need to make some notes and figure out, what am I going to tell this psychologist about some of the things that are harder for me to talk about in my head. Yeah, so there's that. Also, I plugged my merch a little bit, so there it is, and the bot has been doing a terrible job today, so maybe I made the settings too strict. But yeah, no, so I think people have bought, like, at least one of everything has sold. I think I'm the only one who's gone for the women's t-shirt, though, at this point. But yeah, and that's kind of cool. And I was also saying earlier, like, it's hot in Sydney at the moment. That's why I was wearing the white shirt. Although I'm wearing the huntan now because my house is cold. I'm on the cold side of the house, and, like, my room is, like, in the middle of the house on the shady side, so it gets cold, especially in here, and it's one of those old Federation houses, so it's well insulated. So yeah, it gets cold in my room. Then summer will happen, and then it'll be, like, really hot in the whole house, and I will survive on aircon. But anyway, no, wearing white shirt because it's hot out, and I had to do all that walking, and so I'm thinking, shit, I do need to make some t-shirts that are white, so I'm like, how do I do that? Because oh no, it's one of these, how do I need to go onto this thing to report this bloody spam. I mean, I guess I know I've done something right if I'm getting spam, right? Oh dear. Oh dear. And like, do they actually think that that stuff works? And it's turned up on the bot thing. Damn. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, drunk puppy. I'm just going to, like, put some dots in to get rid of the spam. So, woo! Hey, there we go. Yeah, so I am nervous, and then depending on the outcome of Wednesday, that changes how do I deal with the things that go on in my head. So, yeah, and basically the two main options that I think it could be is like either I have some kind of schizophrenia related delusion, or it's dissociation, and the way that you treat them is like basically the opposite. So yeah, just having like the mildest little panic about it now that it's coming closer, and I've got like the referral stuff all sorted out with my doctor, and yeah, I'm just gonna also, I need to figure out whether the bot can stop spam coming up, but I'm not sure. Oh, it would have been funny though if it said like hot potato. Like, if you're gonna be a spammy scammer, can you at least make it funny? Oh dear. And like the fact that YouTube can't pick up what's obvious spam before it happens. I mean, I'm glad YouTube isn't as horrible as Facebook, you know, over the top like they are, but they could do better, you know. Yeah, so I have 5 more minutes before I really should wrap up. I guess those are the main things. And so the next live stream will probably be next Monday, depending on how things go, but I'll schedule that closer to the day, and then I'll reopen my form for anyone who can't make it, wants to ask questions. But I think lately no one's really had questions, so that's easy. I can just ramble about whatever. I suppose, yeah, I suppose that live stream might be the first time I get to talk about, like, however Wednesday goes, because then Thursday I'm hanging out with that friend. Friday, it depends on whether my new glasses are ready, because I'm getting new glasses, and hopefully the creepy fetish people don't start bombarding me again, but often talk like English isn't their first language. I think that's probably because it's not, like, there are a lot of spam centers in, like, the Philippines and places like that, Russia, wherever, like, you know, Australia is having a problem with Russian hackers at the moment. Yeah, so Friday I might be going to lunch with Mum, and then even if the glasses aren't ready, we might end up going to lunch. Saturday I'll probably be in the studio. Sunday I'll be cleaning. Although this past Saturday I couldn't go to the studio because the traffic was insane. Oh my god, it just, yeah, and so the buses were like 45-minute delays, and they're all full, and I just thought, screw this, I'm going home, so I went on Sunday instead. And yeah, I had lunch with my parents. There's a Japanese place near the studio that's pretty good. Yeah, so that's what's... So I think Monday will be the first chance I get to really say, so how did the specialist go? And then a couple of weeks after I see the specialist, I'm going back to my regular psychologist, and we'll talk about, like, what do I need to do for next year in terms of therapy and just organising, because she's going away for 6 months. So do I see someone else at her practice? Do I see someone at a different clinic? Or do I go on the waiting list for the dissociation specialist? which will only really be relevant if she decides it's dissociation. If not, I'll see someone else. I don't know. New glasses, good for you. Always trying to make things a little better whenever you can. Yeah, well, so they got me with their marketing, didn't they? Because I'm actually going to be changing from the thick black lenses look. I mean, my driving glasses are kind of similar. Bit thinner, bit stronger. I poked myself in the face instead of putting... Wow, yeah, and it's a bit much for looking at the screen. You know, good for driving, perfect for driving, but I just don't like to wear them when I'm sitting around the house trying to relax. So, yeah, but the problem with these glasses, so the new glasses are going to be this same prescription, and the reason I'm replacing these ones is because they're so old that they're all, like, scratched, and they said the coating might be coming off as well, but the thing that annoys me is when I'm trying to watch TV, like dark room, things happening on the screen, I always feel like there's some kind of a smudge on my glasses and I'm trying to clean them, but it's just, there's too many scratches, it can't be cleaned any more than it is cleaned. Like, I even got the old spray from the, yeah, and so it's just time, and I did ask about whether they could change these lenses for new ones, but because these are so old, the plastic, I think it's plastic anyway, when they try to take the old lenses out to put the new ones in, it could crack, and yeah, and I just thought, he also, you know, pointed out that if I get the new ones, you know, that'll be under the warranty and all that. So what I'm going to do is, like, got my driving glasses, I'm going to keep these for work because there's a lot of dirt around, so I might as well have the scratch glasses anyway, but at home I'll be wearing these different glasses which are a different colour, and I guess I'll talk about how I got sucked into the marketing to change from this colour. But Mum's very happy because she doesn't like these thick lenses. These are actually men's glasses as well. I went to the men's section because I didn't like any of the other stuff. This is back when I went to Specsavers. I now go to a Japanese optometrist, so they have more glasses that actually fit my face and the way that my nose is, because I have to have these. I cannot deal with the ones that you can't adjust, and yeah, so, and then particularly at Specsavers, which is a bit more like Western face oriented, they just didn't sit well on my nose. So yeah, these ones were the ones I liked, and especially because, you know, I do like the black, because I don't know if it's a symbolic thing. It probably started as a symbolic thing, like gloomy outlook on life, blah blah blah. That's why I wore eyeliner back in the day, and still sometimes wear eyeliner, but that was my original reason. And also, like, the things that go on in my head, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. There's a lot of symbolic stuff. I don't dress as symbolically these days, but yeah, no, Mum doesn't like these. And then I just got used to having the you know, darker. So when I tried on these other ones, it was a bit like, and I also, like, I'm trying to try them on, but they don't have my prescription in them, so trying to see what I look like is a bit tricky. But Mum's really happy I'm moving away from these because she doesn't like them, and it'll be a different colour. And so I'll wear them around the house, because when I'm at home, Mum has to see me, she has to see my face. She'll be much happier if I'm wearing glasses she likes. Marketing is the devil. Well, I'll show you what the glasses are like when I get them. So I guess that's a video I need to make, and just deal with all the weirdos who come by. And they always pretend, like, they ask me, oh, how strong are your glasses? Can we have more glasses videos? Blah, blah, blah. They think I don't know what they're about. I know what they're about. And, and then they try and tell me that, oh, I'm just learning English. I don't know what I'm saying. And I'm like, bullshit. If you're learning another language, the first thing you learn is not how strong are your glasses. The first thing you learn is, hi, my name is. And then, you know, so, like, I'm not an idiot. I wasn't born yesterday. I know I look young or younger than I am, but I'm not. I'm old and grumpy and cynical, and I don't have patience for people who are trying to exploit me for their sexual interests. So basically, keep it to yourselves. But of course, I know when they turn up, and I can see in my analytics, like when I talk about a topic that these people are into, a spike in their views, and then someone puts it on their playlist. Like, some people have put on their playlist things where, like, my dog is snoring. So clearly someone has a weird fetish there. Yeah, and there's other things that they put on playlists, and I'm just like, you know, like, do whatever is fine for you, but don't involve me. Like, you know, my stuff's freely on the internet, sure. If you're learning a new language, the first thing you learn are naughty words. Mum claims there are no naughty words in Japanese, but, you know, it's very easy to be rude in Japanese because of the way that, you know, being formal and being casual language in the wrong situation is rude. But anyway, oh dear. But yeah, just going on a rant about those kinds of people. Oh, I've sort of lost my train of thought there and just make myself a bit ugly with that. Yeah, no, like, my stuff is on the internet, so I can't stop them watching stuff. I just don't want them to try and involve me, like, to try and be like, can you show us your glasses, or show us your feet, is the other one. And, you know, and then the thing that bothers me the most is that most of them are not open about what they really want. And, you know, like, there was a time when I looked into the whole BDSM world, and one of the things that they should have respect for is their obsession with consent. Like, you know, they're always checking to make sure that, yes, they're into weird stuff, but they do check consent. And if you ask me to show my feet, but don't tell me that it's part of your fetish, then you're not doing the consent thing. Like, online, I guess there's some difference there, but it's the same principle, as you should be open. And so occasionally I get odd messages on Instagram from some of these people, and the ones that piss me off are the ones who are not upfront about it. Yeah, feet people are gross. Yeah. But occasionally I get someone who says, you know, I have this interest, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they actually ask me, like, they're upfront about it. And I appreciate that, because they are telling me what they're into. It's not their fault that they're into that, I guess. So, you know, respect for being open about it and not trying to trick me into something, not trying to exploit me. Like, they're actually essentially asking consent to talk to me about that stuff, and they'll be like, look, I'm not into it, but I appreciate it. Maybe you should go to one of those specialist websites instead of Instagram. But, you know, like, I'm nicer to those people, whereas if people aren't upfront with me, I tend to slap them down, because that's kind of fun. Yeah, but there are websites for that stuff, and Instagram is not a dating platform. So, go away. But no, feet people are gross. The one that's worse, though, are the ones who think that I'm underage. So, have you ever... Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to pronounce your username. Sneaky face with is that an Eye of Horus? Have you ever used psychedelic drugs? No. And I haven't used any illegal drugs. Like, you know, I've had caffeine, because that's in tea, and Coca-Cola, I think, and sugar. That's it. Otherwise, it's just what things that have been prescribed for me. So, yeah. I might have taken, like, half a Valium once, which wasn't prescribed to me, and, yeah. That's probably the closest I've done to any of that. So no, I don't use drugs, and I think it would be a bad idea for me, although I am interested in some of the newer research that is exploring those kinds of drugs, but in a very controlled context. So yeah, there's a few trials that have been going around, but I don't qualify for any of them, and until there's evidence that they're actually, you know, worth doing, I'm probably not gonna even go close to that stuff, because I react badly to antidepressants, you know, perfectly legal, all that kind of stuff. And then I even, like, if I have too much chocolate, that makes me feel off. So I clearly have some kind of chemical sensitivities, so I think for me to go for something that's uncontrolled would be a bad idea. Plus depression, adding drugs to that, not a good idea. I don't drink alcohol. I also have other reasons for not being into alcohol and drugs, because I have these sort of experiences of not always being myself. I have this, or I used to have more of a paranoia about losing control of myself, and also the idea of losing my memory. That one freaks me out, because then I wouldn't know what I've been up to. So luckily I don't lose my memory, and yeah, that was one of my earliest reasons for not doing drugs or alcohol, because, you know, I just have this need to be in control of myself, and maybe I am in control of myself to an unhealthy degree, and maybe that's part of why I have this issue, the possible delusion of imaginary split personality thing. I don't know. I'll find out on Wednesday what the specialist thinks. But on that note, I have gone a little bit over time, and yeah, I've got to wrap it up. So what were the summary things for today? I guess like the main things to know is I'm considering not replying to all comments anymore because, yeah, my audience is getting a little bit too big and I'm attracting people that I just don't want to engage with, and who I don't even understand their comments half the time, and it's just more stress than it's worth. So I'll think about it, but that's something I'm considering because, like, it's still... I answer comments as like sort of a quest that I have to complete. So if I'm not replying to those comments, then, you know, I can't complete the quest. And then it backs up in my YouTube. Like YouTube says, hey, you've got new comments you haven't responded to. So do I just respond to them with like a full stop or an emoji or something? Or do I just learn to ignore it? Maybe that's the easiest thing. Yeah, so that's one thing. And then the other thing, don't forget, I got merch. My brain goes, they're multiplying. Yeah, and so $5 discount on everything until the end of the month. And then you should get it by Christmas and we can all have a culty Christmas, because this is like my official cult shirt. Patreon is my cult, but like everyone's in the cult if you want to be, but you're officially in the cult if you're on my Patreon, and officially from like $3 up. But you can get in my Patreon for $1 US anyway. I'm not that, you know, like everything's there. And then I've got like ridiculous high tiers. If you want to have a giggle, the high tiers of my Patreon, they are there for trolling value because, you know, cults like to take money from people. So I went all in on the cult vibe. But yeah, no, we've got a shirt and I want to do more shirts at some point. Have a good day, eat well, and hug your puppy. Yeah, my puppy is not drunk, but thanks, Drunk Puppy, for popping by. I love your username so much. It just makes me giggle. But yeah, I'll go and hug my not drunk puppy. He has anxiety, so I don't know if that's relevant in some way. And, oh, what song should we go out on? Is there something that has to do with, well, that's The Psychologist, but, no. Since we talked about the sexuality thing, and since sexuality is everywhere, I'm going to give you Navigating the Nightmare. So if I just bring up my EP again, because this is on my asexuality EP. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm not huge keen on the whole, like, asexual representation or whatever, because I found the asexuality groups quite frustrating, and funnily enough, despite being asexual, they talk about sex a lot, and I'm just like, but so I actually made my EP, which I just chucked that in the chat. I made that EP when I was at art school, and then in my final semester I got the shits with art and decided I'm going to do music again. But obviously art school's left-leaning, they're into that kind of stuff, and so I cynically exploited that cultural vibe to get better marks. And so the whole album is about asexuality, experiences I had with people being annoying, and the saturation of sexual stuff in society, but I did it without mentioning asexuality or sex anywhere. No asexual stereotypes, like they're obsessed with cake and the color purple and other kinds of stuff. No, the only time that asexuality comes up is in the title of the thing and on the album cover. 'Cause, yeah, I'm gonna not do things that way. So yeah, I'll leave you on Navigating the Nightmare, and you can check out the other songs on that. Also, I've got some other stuff on Bandcamp, but we won't worry about that today. So here's Navigating the Nightmare, and I will see you obviously in next videos, but live probably on Monday. Stumbling through a nightmare. I'm going, bye. The voices gather to squeeze me. Saturation to reaffirm the dedication to feeding. Maybe I can hide away somewhere I can disappear.
change myself so beautifully.
Blaring sirens and neon lights on every corner are preaching, house demanding my compromise, while puppet masters are scheming. Maybe I can hide away somewhere. I can disobey. Everywhere I go, all I see are the symbols of their need, and I feel alone in my mind.
You're shoved in my face in every place to sell me a story I cannot embrace. Demand I comply and torture my eye as I cannot change myself so